Hello everyone, let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at your wife and truly saw her? Not the way she looked in her dress, not the way she laughed at the dinner table, but the way her eyes softened when she was tired, or the way her silence carried a weight you didn't quite understand. Most men assume love is shown through protection, providing, or staying steady. But here's the truth: women carry silent wishes, unspoken desires, things they long for their husbands to know, yet rarely put into words. Love is not just about being there, it's about how you are there. She doesn't only want your presence, she wants your curiosity. She wants you to notice the small things she doesn't say, to recognize that her longing is not for grand gestures, but for the subtle affirmations that she still matters to you, not just as a partner in responsibility, but as a woman, as a lover, as someone who wants to feel chosen every single day. This video is not about clichés or quick tricks, it's about pulling back the curtain on the secrets women carry in their hearts. Because when you understand what your wife secretly wishes you knew about love, you don't just keep your marriage alive, you make it breathe again. When we talk about love inside a marriage, we often imagine it as something fixed. We fall in love, we marry, and we believe that this bond will hold on its own. But the truth is, love inside a long-term relationship is not a permanent state. It's a living thing. It breathes, it shifts, it gets hungry, it gets tired. And just like anything alive, it needs tending to. Many men, especially after years of marriage, slip into the assumption that their job is to provide stability, to keep things moving, to work hard, to make sure life is safe and predictable. And yes, those things matter deeply. But if I could tell you one secret that women often hold silently in their hearts, it's this: she doesn't only want stability, she wants to feel seen, desired, and chosen, even after decades of being by your side. Think about it for a moment. When you first met her, how did you look at her? There was curiosity in your eyes. You wanted to know everything about her, her favorite food, her dreams, what made her laugh, what made her cry. In those early days, you pursued her, not just with gifts or dates, but with your attention, and that attention made her feel alive, valuable, wanted. Over time, though, many husbands fall into routine. The conversations become about bills, work schedules, kids' homework. The romance, the spark, the curiosity, those fade into the background. And yet, what she secretly wishes is simple: see me the way you once did. Not because she doubts your love, but because she longs to feel that aliveness again, the electricity of being desired, not just loved. Let me share a story. I once spoke to a woman married for 22 years. She said, "My husband is a good man. He works hard. He never cheated. He's loyal. But when I walk into a room, he doesn't look up from his phone. He doesn't notice if I've changed my hair or if I bought a new dress. And the worst part is, I know he loves me, but I don't feel like I exist in his eyes anymore." Do you hear the paradox there? She knows she is loved, but she doesn't feel it. That's the difference between love as a duty and love as a lived experience. So, the first truth women wish their husbands knew is this: love is not proven once. It must be renewed daily. It's not enough to say, "I love you," once a year on an anniversary card. It's in the small, daily acts of attention that a woman feels cherished. When she speaks, do you pause and look into her eyes, or do you keep scrolling, half listening? When she's cooking or reading, do you ever walk up behind her, place your hand gently on her back, and just let her know you see her? These moments might seem small, but to her they are the proof that she still matters in your world. Now, let's move to another layer, because it's not just about being noticed, it's about being desired. There is a profound difference between being needed and being wanted. Most men in marriage slip into the role of being needed. "I need you to fix the car. I need you to pick up the kids. I need you to help with the groceries." But when was the last time you told her, "I want you"? Not, "I need you to help with this, but I want to hold you, I want to spend time with you, I want to feel close to you." Desire is the oxygen of long-term love, and women, more than they admit out loud, crave to feel desired. Not just as mothers, not just as wives managing responsibilities, but as women, feminine, sensual, alive. Imagine the difference it makes when she walks past you in the hallway, and you don't just say, "Hi," but you let your hand linger on her arm and whisper, "You look so good today." It takes seconds, but it nourishes her heart for hours. The second secret she holds is this: she wants you to see the woman in her, not just the partner in her. When you first fell in love, you saw her as someone magical, mysterious, someone to be discovered. Over time, routine can make her feel invisible, not because she has changed, but because you've stopped looking with the same eyes. The truth is, she is still that same woman. She still wants to be your lover, not just your co-parent or your roommate. There's something deeply erotic about being chosen again and again by the same person. It's not about newness, it's about freshness. You can give her that freshness not by changing who you are, but by changing the way you see her. If she feels invisible in her own home, no amount of material comfort will make her feel loved. But if she feels seen, desired, and valued as a woman, she will glow in ways you cannot imagine. And here's the third wish, one that many women never put into words. She wants emotional presence, not just physical presence. Many men say, "I'm home every night. I don't go anywhere. I'm always around." But being in the same room is not the same as being emotionally present. Women don't just want a warm body in bed at night. They want your attention, your openness, your willingness to engage with her inner world. You see, for women, intimacy is not just physical, it is profoundly emotional. When she shares her frustrations, her dreams, her daily stories, she doesn't always want you to fix them. She wants you to listen, to validate, to be curious. When she says, I had such a hard day at work, she's not asking for solutions. She's asking for connection. She wants to hear, tell me about it. What happened? How did that make you feel? This is what creates closeness. Not grand gestures, not endless gifts, but your willingness to sit with her, to enter her emotional world without judgment, without rushing to solve it. Emotional presence is the bridge between love and intimacy. It's what makes her feel safe enough to open herself fully, to let her guard down, to remain vulnerable with you. Think of it like this: your wife doesn't want you to just share a house, a bed, or a bank account. She wants you to share a life of emotions, stories, dreams, frustrations, laughter, and even silence. When she feels that you are truly present with her, she doesn't need perfection. She just needs presence. And this is where so many men misunderstand. They think they are failing because they can't fix everything, when in reality, what she longs for is not a solution but companionship. The companionship of knowing that you are fully there, fully attentive, even if all you do is hold her hand while she talks. So, let's bring this together. The first truths that women secretly wish their husbands knew are this: love is not static. It must be renewed daily. Desire is essential. She wants to be wanted, not just needed. And presence matters, not the physical kind alone, but the emotional kind that tells her you are fully here with her. When we begin to look at love in this way, not as something guaranteed, but as something that needs daily renewal, we realize how easy it is to drift without even noticing. Couples don't usually fall apart because of one big betrayal. They fade because of countless small absences, the glance not made, the curiosity that slowly evaporates. For women, this fading feels like a slow erosion of intimacy. And if we listen closely, what many wives secretly wish their husband knew is that intimacy is not only about what happens in the bedroom. Intimacy is built in the way you look at her when she's telling a story, in the way you ask about her day with genuine interest, in the way you sit beside her and don't rush to leave. So, let's go deeper. Another longing women rarely express out loud is their desire for emotional language. Many men are action-oriented. They show love through doing, fixing the sink, paying the bills, making sure the car has gas. These are important, but they do not always register as love in her heart. For women, words carry a different kind of weight. She wants to hear what you feel, not just see what you do. I remember once a husband told me, but she should know I love her. Look at everything I do for her. And I told him, yes, she knows. But does she feel it? Actions build security. Words build intimacy. She doesn't want poetry every day. She doesn't want endless declarations. What she wishes for is simple: that you let her into your inner world. That you say things like, I missed you today, or I love how your smile still gets me. These words, spoken with sincerity, are food for her soul. And here is where many men hesitate. They worry that words make them vulnerable, that expressing too much will make them appear weak. But in truth, vulnerability is not weakness. It is intimacy. A man who can look at his wife and say, I feel lonely when we don't connect, is not weak. He is brave. He is opening the door to a deeper form of closeness. So the fourth wish many women hold quietly is this: share your feelings with me, not just your duties. She doesn't want to be married only to your strength. She wants to be married to your humanity. Now, let's turn to something that lies even deeper. Women also wish their husbands understood that love is not a cage, but a dance between closeness and freedom. This is where so many couples struggle. In the beginning, love feels like togetherness. You want to spend every moment side by side. But over time, the need for individuality grows. She may want time for herself, her hobbies, her friendships, her personal space. And often, husbands misinterpret this as rejection. But here's the paradox: the more freedom she has to breathe, the more desire she has to return to you. Women don't want to lose themselves inside the marriage. They want to feel that they can still be themselves within the marriage, that their individuality doesn't vanish just because they said, I do. Imagine it like this: love is a fire. It needs oxygen. If you smother it, it dies. But if you give it air, it burns brighter. What women secretly long for is a husband who trusts her enough to let her breathe, to pursue her passions, to have moments of independence without feeling threatened. The fifth wish then is this: give me space without withdrawing your love. When she goes out with her friends, when she takes time to pursue her hobbies, when she asks for quiet, this is not distance, it is renewal. And if you can support that, encourage it, even celebrate it, you will see that she returns to you with more energy, more passion, more desire. This leads us naturally into another unspoken truth. Women long for playfulness, not just laughter at a joke or small talk during dinner, but the kind of playfulness that brings lightness into the relationship. Over time, many marriages become weighed down by responsibilities: the house, the job, the children, the finances. It all creates seriousness, but play is what keeps intimacy alive. Think back to when you were dating. You teased each other. You surprised each other. You flirted. You laughed. You didn't take everything so heavily. That playfulness is still needed today. A woman longs for moments when her husband reminds her that love is not only about solving problems, but about creating joy. She wants to laugh with you until her stomach hurts. She wants to see your mischievous side again. So the sixth wish is this: bring back the play. Surprise her with a spontaneous date. Send her a silly message. Dance with her in the kitchen for no reason at all. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take planning. It takes presence and willingness, because love is not only deep, it is also light. And here is where we connect the dots. When a woman feels seen, when she feels desired, when she hears your words, when she knows she has space, and when she feels joy, her heart opens. She becomes softer, more receptive, more connected. And this connection, in turn, intimacy is not a one-way street. When she feels nourished emotionally, she naturally responds physically. But let me emphasize something very important. Women also wish men knew that intimacy cannot be rushed or demanded. Many husbands feel frustrated when physical closeness doesn't happen as often as they'd like. But what women often long for is the build-up, the emotional foreplay that happens long before the bedroom. If she feels invisible all day, if she feels unheard, unappreciated, unrecognized, she cannot simply turn on passion at night. Desire needs context. Imagine it this way: for men, physical intimacy often creates emotional closeness. For women, emotional closeness often creates physical intimacy. If you understand this difference, you unlock the door to harmony. She wishes you knew that when you listen, when you notice, when you play, when you show words of affection, you are already making love to her, not with your body, but with your presence. And when the moment finally comes, it feels natural, flowing, like the next step in a dance rather than a forced performance. This is what women secretly long for. Not to be pressured, but to be invited. Not to be taken for granted, but to be courted, even years into marriage. So, let us pause and breathe this in. Women wish their husbands knew that words matter, not only actions. They wish their husbands understood that love requires space as much as closeness. They wish for playfulness, for laughter, for joy that balances the heaviness of life. And they wish for intimacy that flows naturally from emotional connection, not obligation. What becomes clear as we peel back these layers is that women don't long for extravagant gestures or constant declarations. What they secretly wish is often very simple, but profoundly powerful. They want to feel that the bond is alive, that their marriage is not something resting on yesterday's promises, but something pulsing with today's presence. And this leads us to another truth that many husbands never fully realize. Women wish their men understood that respect is one of the most erotic forces in love. Respect not as formality, but as daily reverence. When you respect her opinions, when you listen to her ideas without dismissing them, when you value her voice in decisions, she feels dignified, honored, and cherished. Love without respect becomes suffocating. Respect is what allows desire to keep breathing. Think about how often small dismissals create deep wounds. A woman says, "I think we should do it this way," and her husband rolls his eyes, or interrupts, or moves on as if she never spoke. To him, it's nothing. To her, it feels like erasure. But when you look at her and say, "That's a good point, tell me more," you are saying you matter. Your mind matters. Your voice matters. And that recognition keeps intimacy alive, because it reminds her she is not just a body in the room. She is your equal, your partner, your chosen one. The seventh unspoken wish then is this: respect me not only as your wife, but as a person with her own mind, her own dreams, her own identity. Now let's turn to another truth, one that often hides beneath the surface. Women wish their husbands knew that conflict is not the enemy of love. Silence is. Many men avoid conflict because they fear it means failure. They think peace means absence of arguments. But what women long for is authenticity. She doesn't want you to agree with her just to avoid tension. She doesn't want you to shut down when there's a disagreement. What she really wants is engagement. Because in her eyes, fighting means you still care enough to be passionate. It means you still want to work through the mess, not retreat into indifference. What kills marriages is not conflict. It's when partners stop showing up, stop talking, stop trying. She wishes you knew that arguments, when handled with respect, are opportunities for connection. They can clear the air, they can bring honesty, they can even rekindle passion. So the eighth wish is this: don't fear conflict, fear disconnection. When you avoid the hard conversations, she feels alone in the relationship. But when you face them, even clumsily, you show her that you care enough to stay in the ring with her, and that, paradoxically, deepens trust. There is yet another secret, one that often goes unsaid because it feels vulnerable to admit. Women wish their husbands understood the power of gratitude. Long-term relationships often suffer from what psychologists call the familiarity effect. The more accustomed we are to someone's presence, the more we take them for granted. And yet, every woman longs to hear those small words: "Thank you, I appreciate you, I don't take this for granted." She may not say it outright, but inside she wonders, does he notice all the things I do? Does he realize how much I give? And when you offer gratitude, not just for the big things, but for the daily, ordinary acts, it softens her heart. Thank her for making the meal. Thank her for the way she cares for the family. Thank her for her patience, her smile, her companionship. Gratitude is like water to the roots of love. Without it, the roots dry up. With it, love grows stronger and steadier. So the 9th wish is this: notice me, thank me, let me know I matter to you. Now, as we bring these threads together, we arrive at perhaps the most profound of all the wishes. Women secretly long for husbands who are not afraid of their vulnerability. Men often believe they must be strong, composed, unshakable. But women wish their husbands knew that showing vulnerability, sharing fears, doubts, insecurities does not diminish love, it deepens it. There is a unique intimacy in the moment a husband says, "I feel scared about the future," or "Sometimes I don't know if I'm enough." These words don't weaken the bond, they strengthen it. Because vulnerability invites closeness. It tells her, "I trust you with my most fragile parts." And in that trust, love becomes a sanctuary. The 10th wish then is this: let me see your humanity, not just your armor. She doesn't want a superhero. She wants a man who is strong enough to be soft, courageous enough to be real. And when you bring all of these together, respect, authentic conflict, gratitude, vulnerability, you create a love that is not only lasting, but alive. A love that grows, breathes, and adapts. But let us not forget one more thing. Beyond all these wishes, women also long for husbands who understand that love is a practice. It is not a feeling you fall into once. It is something you cultivate. A marriage does not stay alive because of the wedding vows spoken years ago. It stays alive because of the daily choices you make to nurture it, to ask questions, to listen, to flirt, to touch, to thank, to forgive, to desire. This is what women secretly wish: not perfection, not constant romance, not endless surprises, but effort, consistent, intentional effort, because effort is love in action. And when a woman feels this kind of love, something remarkable happens. She doesn't just stay in the marriage out of duty. She thrives in it. She blossoms. She shines. And in that shine, you too feel more alive, more desired, more fulfilled. Because love in its truest form is reciprocal. The more you give, the more you receive. So pause here and reflect. Your wife does not want you to reinvent yourself. She doesn't want a stranger. She doesn't want perfection. She wants you. But she wants you fully present, fully engaged, fully alive in the relationship you share. Love is not about never changing. Love is about choosing each other again and again, every single day. And when you begin to embody these truths, you don't just meet her unspoken wishes. You create a love story that continues to evolve, to surprise, and to deepen with time. When we begin to understand love as a practice, the question naturally becomes, what does this look like in everyday life? Because it's one thing to talk about respect, gratitude, vulnerability. It's another to live them between the walls of your own home, in the rhythms of daily routine. Let's bring this down from the clouds. Picture this: you come home after a long day. You're tired, distracted, scrolling through your phone as you walk in. Your wife is in the kitchen. She glances up, half smiles, and goes back to what she's doing. The moment passes. Nothing wrong happened. But nothing deeply right happened either. Now imagine instead you pause. You put the phone away, you walk over, kiss her cheek, look her in the eyes, and say, "I'm glad to see you." Small. Yes, but here's the truth. Love is built in these micro moments. What she secretly wishes is not for you to become someone else, but for you to show up differently in the moments that already exist. It's in the way you ask about her day. Do you ask like a formality, or do you actually want to know? When she tells you about a colleague at work, do you listen with curiosity, or do you dismiss it as unimportant? Every time you validate her world, you build intimacy. And every time you overlook it, you chip away at the bridge between you. Let's talk about touch. Physical closeness is one of the simplest ways to say, "I love you," but in many marriages, it disappears outside the bedroom, and yet she longs for it. A hand on her back as you pass in the hallway, brushing her hair out of her face, holding her hand in public. These small gestures make her feel not only secure, but chosen. They remind her that your attraction hasn't faded into routine. Women secretly wish their husbands knew that passion is not only about sex, it's about energy. Energy that is playful, affectionate, attentive. When you lean in for a kiss without it having to lead anywhere, you create a safe space where intimacy is not transactional. It's tender, it's alive, and ironically, that very tenderness often leads to deeper desire later. Now let's talk about presence. In a world where everything competes for our attention, phones, emails, television, your wife wishes you knew that your undivided attention is one of the greatest gifts you can give her. Imagine this. She's talking, and instead of half listening, you put the phone face down, you lean forward, you look at her. In that moment, she doesn't just feel heard, she feels important. Presence is not about hours of uninterrupted time. It's about the quality of the moments you give. 10 minutes of true presence is worth more than an hour of distracted silence. She wishes you knew that. And then there's the question of curiosity. Remember when you first met, you wanted to know everything. But after years together, many men stop asking questions. They assume they already know. But But here's the secret: your wife is not the same person she was when you married her. She has changed. She is changing still. She has new interests, new dreams, new fears, new desires, and she wishes you were curious enough to discover them. When you ask, "What are you excited about lately?" Or, "Is there something you've been thinking about trying?" you signal that you still see her as a woman with her own evolving story, not just as a fixed character in yours. This curiosity breathes new life into the marriage. Let's also touch on support. Women secretly long for husbands who not only acknowledge their ambitions, but actively cheer them on. Maybe she wants to start a new hobby, a small business, a creative project. Maybe she's nervous, unsure of herself. When you say, "I believe in you, go for it, I'll support you," you give her wings. She feels that her growth is not a threat to you, but a celebration for both of you. Love is not only about being present in comfort, it's also about being her ally in expansion. And she wishes you knew that your encouragement means more than you realize. Now let's shift to playfulness, because this is not just about solemn duty, it's about joy. Couples that laugh together, last together. But laughter doesn't appear on its own. It must be invited. Tease her gently, remind her of inside jokes, suggest something spontaneous. Maybe it's dancing in the living room. Maybe it's trying something new in bed. Maybe it's simply sending her a funny meme during the day. These little acts keep the air light, keep the spark alive. Here's another layer women rarely put into words. They want you to romance them even after years of marriage. Not every day, not with constant effort, but with occasional gestures that say, "I still choose you." Plan a date, write a note, pick up her favorite snack when you stop at the store. These are not about extravagance. They're about thoughtfulness, about showing that she's on your mind even when she's not in the room. And finally, let's speak about forgiveness. Women wish their husbands knew that forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about moving forward. Every marriage has disappointments, frustrations, moments of neglect. What matters is not perfection but repair. When you make a mistake, own it, apologize sincerely, show her that her pain matters to you. Repair builds resilience. Without it, wounds fester. With it, trust deepens. This, in the end, is the practice of love. To notice, to listen, to touch, to laugh, to encourage, to repair. Love is not something you once had and must now protect. It is something you build every day, with every choice. And when you practice it, when you embody these small intentional acts, you create a marriage that feels alive. Not static, not stale, not a duty, but a living, breathing connection that continues to grow. By now you can probably feel it. Love is not the grand mystery we make it out to be, nor is it the checklist of duties we reduce it to. It is something in between, simple in its essence, but delicate in its practice. What women secretly wish their husbands knew is not impossible to give. It is not beyond you. It is already within your reach. If you choose to look, listen, and act with intention. Think of it this way: marriage is like a garden. In the beginning, when everything is new, the soil is fertile, the flowers bloom easily, the air is fragrant. But with time, if you do not water it, if you don't remove the weeds, if you don't notice the changes in the seasons, the garden begins to dry, to harden, to lose its beauty. And yet, the garden never loses its potential. With care, with attention, with consistent tending, it flourishes again. Your wife's heart is that garden. She does not expect it to bloom without effort. She does not expect perfection. What she longs for is your attention, your willingness to care for it, not once, not occasionally, but as a way of life. And here's something important to understand. When you give in this way, you do not lose yourself. On the contrary, you gain, because the woman who feels seen, desired, respected, supported, and cherished is the woman who will reflect that love back to you in ways that nourish your soul. A fulfilled woman becomes a radiant wife, and her radiance feeds the man beside her. So what are the truths we have uncovered together? That she longs to be noticed, not only as a partner in routine, but as a woman alive with desire. That she wants your presence, not only your body in the room, but your heart and mind engaged with hers. That she wishes for your words, your curiosity, your laughter, your play. That she desires freedom as much as closeness, individuality as much as togetherness. That she wants respect, gratitude, vulnerability, and effort. And when these things are present, love does not feel heavy. It feels light. It doesn't feel like an obligation. It feels like a choice, freely made again and again. Now I want to ask you something personal. When was the last time you told your wife why you love her? Not the practical reasons, but the emotional ones. When was the last time you looked into her eyes and reminded her of the qualities that made you fall for her? If it's been too long, then tonight is the night. Don't wait for the anniversary. Don't wait for the right moment. Create the moment. Walk up to her, take her hand, and tell her. Because in that simple act, you're giving her what she secretly longs for: reassurance that love is alive. And let me tell you this, small changes make a big difference. You don't need to overhaul your personality. You don't need to transform into a poet or a movie star. You need to be present, attentive, intentional. You need to show her in the little ways that she still matters, that she is not invisible in your world, that she is not only your wife, but still your lover, your partner, your chosen one. Men often fear that they are inadequate in love, that they cannot meet the unspoken needs of their wives. But the truth is, love is not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently. Love is not measured in the size of your gestures, but in the sincerity of your presence. And here is where the magic happens. When you begin to live this way, when you embody these truths, you will notice something shift. The atmosphere in your home changes. Conversations become warmer. Intimacy becomes more natural. Laughter returns. She softens, you relax, and the partnership feels alive again. This is not fantasy. It is the real result of showing up with intention. So as we close, I want you to remember this: love is not a feeling you protect. It is a practice you live. And what women secretly wish their husbands knew is not a secret at all. It is simply love in action. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do today to make her feel loved? Start there. Because love doesn't need to be overwhelming. It needs to be lived one choice at a time. And if this message spoke to you, if it stirred something inside you, then share it. Share it with your friends, your brothers, your sons. Because we live in a world where men are rarely taught how to love beyond providing and protecting. But you have the power to change that. Before we go, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments, tell me what's one thing you're going to do differently after watching this video. What's one way you're going to show love more intentionally? Your words may inspire someone else to do the same. And if you found value here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs it. Because love at its core is not just personal, it's universal. The more we learn to practice it, the more we change the relationships, the families, even the culture around us. So here's to you, to your marriage, to your love. May you not only stay together, but stay alive together. May your love not just endure, but deepen, expand, and surprise you, even decades into the journey. Because in the end, the greatest gift you can give your wife is not diamonds or promises. It is yourself, fully present, fully alive, fully in love.